Alright, hello everyone. Here we're back for another tutorial here. Oh, get rid of this. So, got to get into the par 3 here. And this is hole number 2 here, Santa Ventura, tour 11. And let's go ahead and start to talk about this. So, I'm going to go ahead and put Guardian up here as kind of top priority. Hopefully at this point you have a 6 or above. However, you can get away with a Guardian 2 here. But I'm going to put 6 because it kind of plays a little bit differently once you get to a 6. Because at that point you have 100% backspin and you can kind of change the way that you need to go about playing this one. And next priority will be the sniper. Just for the accuracy purposes, you're going to need at least an 8. And then let's go ahead and throw Hammerhead in here as the next priority club, but you're going to need a pretty lofty one if you want to be playing with that in here. So let's take a look at Cataclysm, same thing. You're not going to want to play with anything under a 6. So, but, you know, in order of priority, you can see that, you know, the best working its way down. You really, for the most part, unless you're, you know, rolling with Hammerhead 7 for some reason, you know, it's never really going to pass the sniper just because of the extra accuracy and ball guide. So that's the reason it will stay higher, but as soon as it hits a 7, then they become kind of more equal in terms of which one you can play. And I actually prefer the Hammerhead just because of, you know, for some of the par 5s. But as a general rule of thumb on shootouts, you're pretty much going to have sniper be the preferred for the shootouts. So let's take a look here. Of course, this is going to be from the 3rd tee deck in this tour. And, you know, pretty much my baseline that I'm going to be using. Let me go ahead and just, you know, color code these a little bit. I'll use the sniper. You know, we're pretty much across the board. There's very few exceptions. Going to just use max. That's 6.5. In all these cases, and we'll just change the landing zone slightly for this hole. So across the board, I'm going to use 6.5. Of course, once we start to get into the headwind cases, we can start to take off some of that. And it's just going to depend on how strong your headwind is as to how much you're going to be ended up taking off. So I'm just going to kind of put 5.5. But you need to, you know, maybe to as low as 4.5. But you need to play these with a grain of salt. As I mentioned, you know, the severity of the headwind is going to cause that to be completely different. You know, we can have a 5 to 7 mile per hour, or like a 7 mile per hour headwind, or we can have a 15 mile per hour. So it's going, you know, a range of that large has the potential to change those, you know, 1 or 2 points easily. So, you know, this is pretty much what we're looking at. And with the sniper shot, it's usually somewhere right around this front fringe that we'll be trying to land it. Right here. And typically what you want to do is kind of get the bounce like this. If you can keep it towards the left-hand side of the hole, you'll have a little bit better success rate. It does feed down just slightly towards the right. But there's also kind of a backstop over there. So what you'll usually want to do, you know, if this is kind of your shot circle, whatever the wind is, you'll usually try to counter it and try to land very centered. So, you know, if you have a right to left wind, then maybe I'll try to counter it with some curl over here, for instance. And, you know, the opposite for a left to right wind, you know, we'll try to counter that and try to land very centered. You can see that this land spot is going to be relatively centered, and this is a very kind of hilly type land zone. So if you try to land, more over towards the right or the left, you're going to cause more harm than good. So it's much better to kind of bring curl into the equation. Now, what's nice about this Guardian, let's start to talk about that one, because I can choose to land, much more up into this plane and be able to get it to stop. The bounces will kind of look like that, and then it'll kind of backspin off this hill towards the hole. And what it lets you do is it lets you land a little bit deeper. It makes the shot much more easy. So for the side wind case, for example, maybe just as kind of a rule of thumb here, we're going to just basically say we'll use right around 8 here. And in the tailwind case, maybe 8.5 to 9 on the straight tailwind. So it'll look kind of like that. And very similarly, how we start to drop off here, we'll kind of start to do similarly here. Maybe I'll put 7 here and maybe 6 here. And, I can just kind of, I can land a lot more north of where I can land with a sniper and get decent results with this club. Not to mention it has a little bit more range than sniper does. So you'll be able to get a little bit deeper into the hole when playing this one. So that's pretty much what you're looking at. With the Cataclysm and the Hammerhead, you pretty much have to take the sniper line and, just play with less accuracy. So you're pretty much doing the same adjustment. Guardian just has that extra length that you can land a little bit longer. And, I still do want you to land pretty centered. I just kind of drew this offset because of the fact that, I kind of had that grid line in there, so I kind of wanted to just keep it offset. So let's talk about the shot here in itself. So I usually, from the third tee, do some extra. Oh, I'm having trouble with that, but that's okay. I'll just keep it like that. So I usually do extra on this. So max plus 20-ish, give or take. Ballpark, 15 to 20, somewhere in there for a side wind. It always plays down much more towards max. In this shot, the headwind can get a little bit iffy. You can end up, getting yourself right at max club, like in terms of, because I think your max line is usually somewhere around here, like towards the top of the hole, where the hole is. So as you start to extend, you're going to pull towards max. You have kind of a little lower valley that you're kind of shooting over, so you have to usually play some extra wind. So right around, max plus 20. Depending on, the angle that you're pulling over, sometimes you end up pulling over some of these bunkers, so you need to watch out for that. And in those cases, maybe I'll do max plus 10. However, if I'm, keeping my aim on higher ground, then I'll still do this max plus 20. So it's really just going to kind of vary a little bit in between those two with how much of an overplay that I do. And with the headwind, it's going to be, significantly more. You'll need to go at least max plus 30, which it starts to get hard because you might start to get, very much towards max, and you might even need to go into a little bit of overpower. So one of the things that you might see me do is I'll change my land zone, try to land just a little bit shorter in this headwind case, and we can actually start to take off some of this spin even. So even, come in under 4 towards 3, for instance. And if we can land it towards this front of this fairway, when we go max plus 30 or max plus 40, for instance, it'll sometimes, make it a little bit easier. However, if we still have that Guardian, we might have, enough of that range that we can still easily go max plus 40, for instance, and still be okay. So, it just kind of depends on the severity. If it's just kind of like a light, 8 mile per hour. You might be able to get away with 30. Keep in mind, you're still going to have to do this ball guide offset thing. You can't just, go this max plus 30 and pull it off. You're going to have to still, on top of everything that you do, wind effect is going to be one of the most important concepts for you to win these shootouts. Is you'll have to, really have that good ball guide offset and do these, overcorrections. And, hopefully, it works out for the best for you. So good luck with this hole, and I'll see you guys on the next one.